Whoa. 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 Okay, Mateo's working on their edit right now too. Okay, so this is MCTV 43. I think we're like lecture number 25. Pretty exciting. It could be a shorter one today, of course, because I really want to give you as much time as possible to work on your edits. And as always, if you have questions or comments, you can message me either on Canvas, or I really do recommend watching the Zoom lectures, especially if you take notice. I think Tuesday. Well, look at this really gray hair right here. I wish Zoom like had a way so you couldn't like never look at yourself. Cause like I know, you ever notice? Yeah, like you ever notice that? Well, at least I do. Maybe I'm a narcissist, but like either I'm looking at a ferret or I'm looking at myself. So I just like end up looking. Oh, I'm like, oh, look, my receding hairline and gray hair. All right, what was I saying? Oh yeah, if you have questions about any of the projects that are due, you can still turn in anything that you haven't done, which I recommend. Some of you do that if you want to get credit. Extra credit opportunities, though. Are we excited for this? Those of you who might not have been able to join us last time, we are having another screenwriting workshop next Tuesday. Tuesday. Tuesday from 5 to 7 in the TV studio. If you can join us and you're not in the class, you get extra credit. If you just want to come and see what it's like, we had a really great time. There's food, glorious food. And if you're on campus Tuesday from 5 to 7, I really recommend it. It's a great time. I'll put out an announcement to remind everybody as well. And if you haven't already taken advantage of some of the other extra credit opportunities, I recommend doing that now because it's just another opportunity to raise your grade. All right. What are we going to talk about today? Okay, anything else? Any questions about that? Okay, I'm going to share my screen. If you guys think of anything, feel free. I just wanted to go over something that came up in, yes, allow. Something that came up. I'm going to showcase a couple of things. I want to bring up a Adobe program called Adobe Media Encoder. Now, this is just not really an editing thing, but this is potentially, have you ever run into the case where you're trying to import something and it won't work, or the files are too large, or what you might have an issue like, hey, it tells me I can't import this file specifically. Well, that can happen, and that can happen if there's an issue with the codec. Every single file has a codec, which is, all right, we're going to say allow, which is basically how it's processed. So the codecs can result in bigger files or smaller files depending on the codec. But essentially, I wanted to showcase what the media encoder did because Jason, excuse me, Jason specifically messaged me yesterday or the day before, and he couldn't import files someone to give it him. And so through us working together, we figured out that number one, we were concerned the files were corrupted. That can be an issue. If your files are corrupted, you can try programs to repair them, but a corrupted file is not a good file. You can try retransferring them, or there are programs that do repair, but you'll lose stuff. So I would always avoid anything corrupted if possible. It can make the time code and the control track inconsistent. You could drop frames. Those are all issues. But what we ended up learning with our problem was we realized that the footage Jason got was really old footage from a really old camera, and the codec was no longer supported by Adobe. So what did that mean? We had to transcode our files. And what does that mean? That means we basically had to convert them to a more modern codec. And these were MP4s. These or actually they were .mows, which is the QuickTime file. So MOV is a movie, which is a QuickTime file. And QuickTime itself wouldn't play these clips because they were too old of codecs. Luckily, Jason used a program which I recommend and is free to every single one of us editors, which is, I'll pull it up right here and show you. Ooh, look at that. This is a free VLC media player. Recommend. You should have this on your computer. It's a free player and it supported it. So Jason was able to open up VLC and see that, hey, these files weren't corrupt because they're playing in something that worked. So then he was able to use VLC to transcode because he didn't have the Adobe Suite. But I was going to showcase here, the Adobe Suite is an easy way to transcode multiple files. Why would I want to do that? Well, one of the reasons I told you that way. Or, for example, what I ended up doing for this class was I came in and I had here all my CAPTCHA files here. But the problem was they're red files. And if I wanted to upload them all to you guys, it would have been something like 200 gigs. That's too much. So what did I do? I actually just took all the red files, which have a lot of information. I selected them all here and I decided to encode them. And I did that by basically dragging and dropping them into this queue. Now, what's interesting is it automatically changes the preset. Now, unfortunately, I had the wrong preset here. So in the future, I really recommend doing one and making sure all your presets are right, or else I'm going to have to go through and change every single one. So the things to note, okay, first and foremost, right here, we have our MP3. So it's going to convert all of my video files to MP3. What does that mean? Well, we should know that MP3s are audio files. Audio files is specifically an MP3 is probably the most compressed audio file. So that means that A, it's compressed, but B, it's going to be the smallest file possible for audio. Cleopatra, are you just messing with your mic or are you trying to talk?
No.
Okay, sorry. I heard something. I wanted to make sure I wasn't interrupting you, okay? We're talking about the Adobe Media Encoder right now. All right. Okay, so is it ideal for us to turn our red files, which are .r3ds, files into MP3s? No, because we'd be basically throwing away our video. So we need to choose this and change it to a codec that would be good for our video files. And you can see that we actually have QuickTime, which will change them to a .mov, which we can see right here. QuickTime's one. QuickTime's a bigger compression, but really, oh wow, got some drainage going on. MP3s, but we want to go and actually do this H.264, which is a compression. H.264 here gives us a compression and turns it into an MPEG-4. We can see that there are multiple different files. Like if I did an MPEG-4, this would give me this codec and it would change it to a 3GG or whatever. But let's go H.264. And then right here changes to match source bitrate. So what does that mean? That basically means if you choose match source, it's going to choose the same aspect ratio and it's going to choose the same bit rate. All right, okay. So if we click on this, we can actually see there's multiple options. Now, what's interesting is maybe I don't want a high bit rate. Maybe I need my file to be smaller, so I choose a medium bit rate. Now, what's the bit rate? The bit rate is the number of bytes that are in each second of the file. So a higher bit rate is going to take up more bytes, which is going to give you a bigger file. If I do medium or small, it's going to make a smaller file, but what's it going to do? It's going to compress it more, so the image won't look as crisp. It might have some blurring. It might be, we've all seen, you've downloaded something and it's been really bad resolution. This is what ends up like changing the resolution. So if we click on it, we clicked on here and we can see the actual, this actually looks a lot like our outputter from Premiere, and we can see that we can change a bunch of options here. First and foremost, if we look at match bitrate source, it's going to give us this summary right here, and it's going to tell us where it's going to output to, but also it's telling us that it's outputting to here. So it's giving us 6K. It's giving us 23.97 frames per second. Progressive, yep. And it's going to say, here's our target bit rate is 3 megabytes per second. So if we go up to high, we can see that that actually changes to 10 instead of 6, right? So that's going to be more. And then our audio right here has telling us what type of audio we have here as well. Well, what's interesting too is we can go through all of these and look at different options. High quality 1080. We'll notice that, hey, look, also it's added letter boxes here, bars, black bars between this and this. No black bars there. Well, it's because it's doing this aspect ratio. But if we want to do like 1080, so that means our video is going to be 1920 by 1080, we have to add black bars in order to get this frame rate. And that's kind of what I ended up doing with my final project. And all of this, like, look, it'll tell us, like, here's your estimated size. So this file ends up being close to 277 megabytes versus if we choose high bit rate here, look, in this one, match source high bit rate is actually going to give us 140. It's because of the target bit rate. Now, if we go and change it to medium, we can see, oh, 43 megabytes. That's even better. Or we can like here's a codec that's specifically for Facebook, and it's giving us and this is the estimate. Sometimes it can be more, sometimes it can be less. The other things about outputting that we can take note of is there are things that we can do and add effects. We can change our audio. This is interesting too, is this is match source, right? So it's matching our aspect ratio. Or we can do this and we can change it ourselves. We can change it ourselves right here, click off of that, and we can change our aspect ratio. So if I go 1920 by 1080, oh, okay, I want to do that, 1920 by 1080. Now we know there's letterboxed. What was interesting before this is, well, let's undo that. Let's do match source again. Okay. And now if this is selected, this is linked. So it means my aspect ratio is always going to stay to this proportion. Even if I turn this to 100, it's now going to be a 100 by 42 resolution. That's small, that's tiny, right? But also, like, I can go all the way up to 10,000. And you can see it appropriately constrains our aspect ratio. But if I click here, and let's say I want to go wacky and I want to do it as I want to do 1080 by 1920, which is basically making it vertical, we can see this is what the output image will look like. It'll have these black bars on top and bottom instead of cropping in. I hope that makes sense. All right, the other thing to note in this is once we choose our codec, and you can see there's a bunch of different options. Let's just choose, let's high quality 4K. Great. And that's going to be about a gig, looking at 1,000 megabytes. Okay. So once we're here, we're going to say, okay. All right. So that we notice this changed. We notice this changed. Now the other one right here, which I could have done in that last window, is my output file. So I basically can choose, I can click here. I can say a new folder. I'm going to say new export. I'm going to say create, and I'm going to go save. So now that's ready to export. So if I hit this plus symbol right here, or sorry, it's not a plus, the play symbol, it would automatically transcode all of these at the exact same time. And this could run in the background while you're editing on Premiere. It will take up however much memory, so it might make you crash your Premiere, or if you're working in a lot of intensive stuff. Well, what's also interesting about this is we can take these presets and then go and do H.264 for this next one. But you can see we need to change everything again. Or we can say duplicate, which will basically make multiple copies. Why would I want to do that? Well, what if I could actually go ahead and make a 2K and a HD version. So I could actually export, like I could take a finished project and export it to multiple different versions of itself. Why would I want to do that? Well, if I want to make a Facebook version, if I want to make a YouTube version, if I want to make a 6K version, a version for media, we can also remove this if we wanted to. Auto encode watch folders. Okay, so all of these other ones, what I would then do is probably delete these. Yes. All right, so we have that one. Now, if we go back into my file here and we drag and drop, it's going to copy everything. Right? Look, it automatically assumes I want to do everything the same as the last codec I used. And we can note that the only thing that did not copy, or actually copied, it didn't copy my export. So what I'm going to have to go through and is basically choose my new export window, which is annoying. It should have done that. Interesting. Let's see, duplicate, remove, add output. Okay, that's going to like duplicate it. Where did I? Oh, okay. I guess I could have. Here's all my presets. Is there a auto? That's a question. Okay, I'm gonna look this up. Won't waste our time right here. Okay. So then let's say I'm happy with all this. It's all gonna export where I want. I've gone through it. I've changed this all to the right setting. Or whatever, or I'm just happy it can go and be a duplicated file right near where the root file is stored. I can also go and say like, hey, I can auto computer shutdown. That means I can hit play and knowing that sometimes these conversions, depending on how many you're doing, could take hours and hours and hours and hours. So I want this, and then I want my computer to automatically shut down. I don't actually want to do that because I almost never shut down my computer. Only when it's running weird. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to hit play. And as we can see, it's automatically encoding and it's exporting to where it needs to go. And it's telling me that this one clip, which is actually 2 clips going at the same time, is going to take 4 minutes. And then seeing all of this time, we know that this can go all work in the background, right? So we're talking about Adobe Encoder. Were you able to solve it?
I ended up just screen recording it.
That's annoying. It wouldn't save in VLC?
No, it kept just freezing and just kind of sitting there and just says 2 kilobytes.
Did it work?
Yeah, the footage worked, but it's not really, doesn't really work with the footage that we have the interviews because people are talking and then I'm overlaying stuff with people talking. So it's kind of like that.
Yeah, that looks weird. Okay, so that basically is our little tutorial on Media Encoder. What I'm gonna do is, like, you can see that it's gonna go and then it'll eventually just move on to the next one. So I'm gonna go stop. I'm gonna say, yes, I want to stop my queue. Or no, maybe I should have read it. You've chosen to stop the queue. Would you like to finish the current clip before? No. Okay, there we go. I stopped it and it's letting me know it didn't finish. Okay. While we're here, of course, I said this is going to be a shorter lecture. I want to talk Media Encoder. I want to show something I edited. And do you have that GAV-TV? Is it? Okay, cool. If you had it, I was going to show it. But if anybody has any questions on the Zoom or on the Zoom or whatever, we can talk about that too. But let me show you what I made today. I made a couple things. First of all, let's go here. Let's go here. Check this out. Oops. Let's do this. I want it to go full screen, please. All right. but full screen, please. Oh, thank you. Annoying. All right, here we go. Check this out.
It starts shaking above you.
Pretty loud. Yeah, we can probably turn this down.
Probably taller than a movie theater right now, geez.
All right, there we go. We want to see it again? That was really cool, right?
Yeah.
All right. Then. All right. So what is this? It's just an end slate, huh? Yeah, this is an end slate. Basically, moving forward, what the video production or film department or film program is doing is we have a partnership with CMAP, which is the local public access television station. Or station, whatever, streaming content, CMAP. And, you know, why don't we go there? Let's check it out. CMAP is going to start airing our content, specifically CMAP Gilroy, cmaptv.com. I almost said .co for some reason. That would have been weird. So CMAP is the local public access station. Used to be, all right, I'm excited. Okay. So look, CMAP, what's interesting too, if you're at all interested, they look to hire GAP students. So if you want a job or you want to go there, this is a place, if you have stuff that you want to submit, they basically, as a community partner, will air anything you turn in. That's what a public access station is, no matter the quality. But that being said, we offer premium quality. Our stuff is good. So they're excited to show our stuff. So if we click watch, this used to, I believe it watch on the air. Ooh, watch live or on demand.
Your child needs these three.
So let's see what's,
to get
and look, it looks like it's streaming to YouTube.
Top 25 university. And
This is what's airing currently?
No, it's an old video. It's streamed for 11 hours.
This is what, no, but this is what they're,
Yeah, that's what their link goes to.
one day ago. So why is it linked to that
Just
old?
need to change that.
Well, all right, let's look at their videos. 3 months, 1 month, 4 months. This is just their YouTube channel. I think it would link to our YouTube, but good question. Good question. All right, so obviously, I don't know. Grant's turning in a bunch of stuff to them. So basically what we learned is no one has submitted anything to them in a couple of years. And they needed a content provider. And we have content. But let's look at video on demand. And well, I don't want to watch these ones. All right. So obviously, public access is primarily doing really old. All right. Government replay. We don't want to do that. All right. Here's channel 20. Public access. Let's see what's on here. I don't want to watch local. They only have. All right. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't have anything. Okay. Okay. Well, this was 3 years ago. All right. This is great. Well, everybody get excited. Your videos will be on this channel. And maybe it'll be the only content that's airing. So whoever watches this, Oh, check out the programming. There's nothing. All right, cool. Let's check out here. I gotta sign in to access the channel. All right, interesting. Okay, we'll update you more. We had a meeting. We didn't realize it was this dire, but so this I created, but in After Effects, which is right here. So here's my comp. This is what After Effects looks like. And basically in After Effects, I could control a lot of different elements. Like, I don't know, make it Shrek green. This is the part where I always like get upset because I have to like make it the perfect green. There we go. All right, so going there. Oh, I just changed my text. So there we go. Text there. I can actually look here and right there, this button is invisible and it makes everything that's happening here visible. So we can actually see that all of the different elements of this one thing is coming in here and adjusting. There's a whole bunch of adjustment layers. As you can see, Photoshop is not for the faint of heart and is really a class that we could have just done entire, yeah. What did I say? Photoshop? Well, that's not fit for faint of heart either. I'm actually really good at Photoshop too. But After Effects, there's a lot of different options. You can see layer, controllable cameras, all of the layers here. These ones are invisible if their heads are down. You can make them invisible or not visible. What do I want to show? What are the cloud special animation gradient? My logo's right here. So there's our logo. We could change it. And yeah, so I made it here. Some effects and stuff splashed and pretty simple, right? We have just the cloud effect that's right here. The invert. Okay. So I want to showcase that. I wanted to show something else too. Why don't I show you this? All right, let's watch this. Is it plugged in? Yes, it is. Let's go here. Let's go date modified. And we're going to look at this one.
If I wasn't coaching basketball, I would be trying to lead in some other area. How we conduct ourselves, how we speak to people, how we treat each other, those are the things that are important. In that first year, it wasn't about winning basketball games. It was what do we do as fast as possible to change the culture of this program. I want people walking away saying, God, did you see those 15 guys that walked through the airport? I mean, what gentlemen. That what Chico State's producing? Sign me up. To me, the reason is because we treat them so good. We are demanding. We hold them accountable, right? It's not all fun and games, but at the end of the day, to a man, everybody in our program is treated with respect, with love, and that's not a word I just throw around. I love my guys. I love them. I build great relationships with them, and I love them, and I treat them well. Having a vision is great. That's the number one thing I think in building great culture is you gotta see what it looks like. You gotta know what it looks like. But if you're not willing to be stubborn and hold your people accountable for your vision, then the vision's pointless. So my point is to build great relationships with the people in your organization, and your culture will be that much more effective.
All right, what do we think about this? Oh, didn't mean to hit it again. All right, let's stop the share. What do we think?
Very energetic. I think it really keeps up with tempo. Just one extremely minor thing, I saw that the text near the end starts blending into the pictures. With it smashing. Yeah,
All right, let's see what you mean by that.
so he had like a off-white shirt and the text was. blue.
Oh yeah, okay, all right.
Maybe, but
You mean like,
so. It's. That. This.
accountable is hard to read. Okay,
And then there's
that's a good note.
that-
Vision is bad.
Yeah, but it was more accountable. That was probably the biggest one.
Accountable is bad, yes. And I actually really dealt with here, one of them here. It was, I think it was this word right here. Let's see. This one was white and you couldn't read it at all, lead. So I changed a couple to blue. Yeah, maybe accountable needs to be blue. Good note. Yes. Any other suggestions? It's a minute 30. And it's a,
Well.
right? What's the,
Having a vision is great. That's the
so why did I showcase? Well, I just wanted to showcase a video that I made outside of my jobs at Gav or for Christopher as a project and showcasing what you could do as a editor when you have the ability to turn something like this. Now, this is always my favorite part to do in class. How much does a video like that cost? No wrong answers, only wrong guesses. 28,000. Okay, Kellen thinks 28,000. Anybody else want to $28,000?
So,
That's a good guess. I mean, $28,000, like it depends what you're making, but for a commercial, you could definitely spend $28,000 based off of the production is being made. All right, Mateo's guessing 20K.
Jeez.
20,
I was just kidding about the 28,000.
28,000 like would be
what would you guess?
20K,
Like,
Huh? $500?
Knowing you, it's gonna be about like probably 3,000, 4,000.
Shut the fuck up. No way.
Jason guessed $3,000 to $4,000.
You're guessing 3,000.
Okay, so what you need to know when you, if and when you have editing skills and if and when you get hired to do freelance, I always encourage my students to think about the value of your time. Now we're students and we're learning. So are we going to do top rates for top dollars? No, but we need to get in the mindset of how much are you being paid? And we should know at this point in the video editing era, or at least in video editing class, how editing takes a long time, right? Not an easy project, not an easy time. So you need to guess about how many hours you put in. For example, Jason, can I talk about your experience? So Jason, someone came to me and asked me to film something for them. And I said, you don't want me. I'm too expensive, but I know students. And basically I didn't want to do it. Or else I would have like way dropped my rate. If I was that hungry and wanted money, yes. But I knew I had students and I knew people would want, and basically was filming a play for a school. Okay, so going into it, you need to accurately think about how many, realistically, how many hours it's going to take you. So, for example, looking at Nick and saying $500, okay? All right, I'm going to share my screen because I love to do this. All right, let's bring up the calculator. This will be the only math lesson, I promise. All right. So $500. Well, okay, shooting the event. So I shot Greg Klink speaking. I was there for, let's say 3 hours. Okay. So if we divide 500 by 3, that means I'm getting paid $166 and 2/3 repeating. 2/3 of a dollar per hour. Okay? But what's the issue there? Well, I shot the event. Now I have to go and edit it, right? So I'm taking in consideration how long this edit took me. Now, how long it's taking me versus how long it's taking you might be a little different. I am an experienced editor. So guess, Jason, how many hours this video took me?
That type of like style, probably close to 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah, this was, I would round up, say 4 hours, probably 4 hours. 4 hours, probably, let's see, I started this morning, I did like 2 and then I would say about 4 hours worth of work. Okay. So then let's go back to 500 and let's say 4 plus 3 is 7. So let's divide that by 7. So now, hey, $71 an hour, nothing to sniff at, right? That's a pretty decent rate for a video like this. But here's the thing to think about too. Do I own my own equipment? Did I have to rent equipment to film it? Well, if I'm fortunate to be a student, maybe I borrowed the school's equipment, or maybe I just used the equipment that I had from my other job, so I didn't have to pay anything. But if you have to rent equipment, you need to take that into consideration. So if I want to rent 2 cameras for that event, let's just go ahead and take our 500 and say, I rented 2 cameras for a day. Let's minus 250. All right. So now we have $250 divided by 7, $35 an hour. Still pretty decent, right? Hey, way more than minimum wage. Okay. What about my license for my editing software? What about my computer? Those are all sunk, those could be sunk costs. You might need a license. Those are all things to take in consideration when you're billing your client. Like every single thing you use should be a consideration. Were there batteries that I used? Was there incidental? Did I have to drive somewhere? Was there gas? Was there travel? Those all matter. So let's say I drove an hour. All right, so let's take our 250. Was an hour there and back? So 2 hours of driving. Okay, so now we're at 9 hours worth of work. Now I'm at $27 an hour. Still, hey, that's great. Is that good or bad or whatever? Okay, now I send it to my client and I send them a link. And my clients come back with notes and changes. And what does that mean? That means I have another 2 hours worth of work. So we were at 9. Let's now go up to 11. So 250 divided by 11. Was that right? 22, does that make sense? Huh?
I didn't see.
I feel like it should have been more dramatic than that, but maybe I divide by 11 hours worth of work. All right, boom. Okay, now you have to take in consideration also what we didn't take in, what? Well, experiencer or whatever, but this is at my level of experience. $22 an hour seems low for me, but also you need to think about also, okay, so it took me 2 more hours. What about I didn't take in my ingestion, right? Like transferring the files. If it was a 2-hour event, I'm now spending time depending on the file types. If they're red footage, 2 hours worth of red footage is going to take an hour to import where I can't am editing. So I should take in, let's add in an hour of ingestion and exporting. Okay, let's say that exporting as well, because does the client need help putting it on their socials? Am I uploading it to YouTube? Do I have a Dropbox account? Am I sharing in Google Drive? And if I'm sharing in Google Drive, then the client's going to call and say, hey, I request access, because they're not going to need to do it. You're going to have to think about your clients also and how much hand holding or how many revisions. And that's like going with just 1 round of revisions. I've had clients where 5, 6 rounds of revisions, and sometimes contradictory revisions. change this back, do this, whatever, depending on the project, depending on the client. So let's just say all in all, my 250 then becomes 15 hours and now I'm making $16 an hour. Still not terrible. And if you're happy with that, just knowing that your profit, but oh wait, I forgot 250. I had a second camera person. Oh, so what's my deal? Am I splitting the cost? Am I splitting my funds? I know, Jason, are you guys directly splitting? Are you both share in the editing? Okay, well, that's good. But if I did the editing, I would be like, okay, my editor, my videographer probably would want $100 for just being there for 2 hours.
I expected the editing to take about 4 hours, but it took close to 8.
Yeah,
That's some cost right there.
so,
But.
and you
it's
had to go
still-
back and you had that extra revision, right?
Yeah.
Hey, just,
But still of just having, the cost of camera operating, saved us, having some costs.
yeah, so Jason and Marty, Marty. Yeah, brain fart right there. So that, of course, so then you have to go in and consider all that. So how much would I have charged for this video?
You also have to contribute if you're wanting to be a profit in there too, so 30% is the average. But if you're wanting to be really aggressive and you lose customers, you can up it, but you
Yeah.
still want it to be in that 30%.
Well, yeah, you want that margin, but also you also have to consider like how much video production am I going to make in the year as a contractor? Because if you make over what, $2,000, you have to report it on your IRS. And then as a independent contractor, a 1099 contractor, you lose 40% of your income. So,
Is it, or is it 16%? Because you have the social security, you have to pay.
it's not great.
Oh, no, yeah.
I
It's
think it's 35%.
35, okay.
Yeah.
Is it, yeah. I always go up. Well, I
Yeah.
charge extra 40% because I'm like, I'm gonna get screwed in taxes.
I
Um,
always get screwed.
Yeah, me too.
If you're wanting to learn more about this stuff, I recommend taking financial accounting and microeconomics.
Nobody wants to do that. But what I'm telling you is there is a way to properly do that. So to answer your questions, $500 is too cheap. Jason's closer on the head. This would be, depending on the person, probably a $2,000 video that I would charge. That's on the lower end.
But if you get paid cash, you don't have to use one.
That too, that you can charge less if it's cash, if you want to go under the table, that's for sure. But if you have employees, you can't do that. So, yeah,
And then the other business expenses too, if you have employees, you have.
100%, you have to have a LLC and all those stuff. It's a nightmare. So I always,
So I just create a business for myself.
Yeah. I mean,
Do you do
it depends how
Japanese?
much you make, and it depends if you want to have an LLC. If you have an LLC, you have to pay $800 a year, base, and then you can like write off expenses. You can write off your car, you can write off your computer.
Sole proprietor too, but LLC, it gives you.
I was gonna say, gives you like more leads, doesn't it?
It's because.
Give
the
you more
assets are
tax.
Split.
Yeah.
Between, instead of as a sole proprietor, if you get sued, everything is lost. Your house, your
Yeah.
cars, your phone, everything. But if you have this LLC, you have your business expenses split from your personal expenses. So if you have your house bought underneath your name, it won't be under your business.
It won't
gets
be your
sued.
Yeah, if you get sued for making a bad video or something, or dropping a camera on, like for me, it was, I used to work for the Concours d'Elegance, and the big nervousness would be dropping a camera on a multi-million-dollar car, right? So, but I was covered under the company I worked for, insurance, so that would have been
That's
something.
another cost you have to.
Insurance, yeah.
for.
No, there's so much like, so if someone asks you to edit something, and here's the real kicker. People's concept of editing is way off. They have no idea how much time or how much work editing is. So the number one place where my students make mistakes and give away a lot of free work is when they have friends or people reach out and ask them to film their weddings. Weddings are a major profit area if you are in the business for weddings. You can charge, you know, easily for 1 day's worth of work and then 8 hours worth of editing. You could get anywhere between $3,000 to $5,000 based on the wedding. But the problem is, those are the higher end weddings.
But that's
But-
revenue. That's not profits. It's not take home money. That's good.
Absolutely. Yeah, because if you had your own equipment, you had your drone, and you could do all that stuff, great. I mean, that's what most videographers end up doing is if they go the wedding route, you earn by working and then eventually buy your equipment, and then you are a wedding videographer, which is a job you could totally do with the skills you have. And it's one of the most soul crushing things I've ever done in my life. I've filmed and edited close to 15 weddings at this point, probably more than that. But here's my big thing. I hate filming weddings. It's a large stress environment with possibly the worst clients imaginable because bridezillas exist and are there. And you churn out content that might be viewed twice. But whatever, you're getting paid. And the clients are really demanding, but you can get paid. But here's the big issue. You got friends and family who want to pay you and offer you $200 to film their wedding. That's nice if you do it as a favor, but as like someone who's hungry and $200 sounds nice. How long are weddings?
Like 4 hours?
No, it could be 12.
Yeah. Hey,
All day.
Depends on the
if it's an Indian wedding, it's 2 days.
Yeah.
If it's a Catholic wedding, it's 8 hours. If it's one of the stipulations I make is I always tell them I will do your ceremony and I will do to the speeches and I'll do first dance and then I'm done. No one wants to see anybody dancing. No one wants interviews.
I used to work at where we did weddings, and I would see like the photographers, they'd be like the first people there,
Yeah.
and then the first people leaving.
Yeah.
As soon as everybody started dancing, they left.
Yeah, that's because after they cut the cake and they do all the things that are things,
Nobody was-
and like, you don't want to be at a wedding. Weddings are like, even if it was like someone, like if it was, Jason's wedding, I would hate to be there just as a guest. No offense, Jason, but I hate all wedding. Like and my big problem is like when I go to a wedding, I'm there and I'm like, I'd rather be filming it than like being there as a guest. But that being said, yeah, it's one of those things, and 90% of the weddings I filmed, I have asked to not be paid at. It's been favors or friends of mine who are all in the age range of, oh, Tim, we'll pay you. Hey, Tim, we'll pay you. Give us a quote. And I'm like, I'll do it for free. And they're like, no, we want to pay you. And then I give them the quote and I give them a friend rate quote where it's like $1,000. That's still really, really not a lot of money. And they'll say, oh, never mind. We'll just have a photographer. And then I'll be like, I offered to do it for free.
Yeah.
I gave you my quote. Now you have said no. I'm like, I'm like, I'm not going to get you a wedding gift. This is your wedding gift now. And you can see that I'm giving you something that's way more expensive than anything else. So I've done that multiple times and whatever. So that being said, there is a way to make money by doing editing. So this video that I made would be about a $2,000, $3,000 video based off of how many edits. I also, like, you want to sign a contract with your video editing just in case. Have you guys got paid yet?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, good. Good. Oh, good. Yeah, and they were happy with, you had to get that other audio though?
Yeah, we did. So that was an additional like 2 hours of just driving. So
Driving and transferring and then-
like about 2 hours of just driving. So in total, it was more of just developing a relationship as a business relationship.
No, absolutely. It's like, hopefully
Yeah,
what you
there's-
did is you'll get another one. And now you know too, for next time, hey, we need this audio 100%.
Yeah.
And if it was me, I would be like, transfer me that
yeah.
while I'm there that night, right? Before we leave, we're getting this, so we don't have to make another drive or whatever.
So again, it's like you have to weigh out your business expenses to like possible working together in the future where you make more.
Yeah, it's one of those things is like you either you price them out so they'll never come back and you get a one-time gig, or you give them a discount and you can say, hey, if we work together again, I can give you another rate. It depends. Like Jason worked for a organization, which is most likely going to have more events similar.
People there too.
Yeah, okay. So there you have an insider already. So it's good to keep, especially if you know someone there, it's good to keep that relationship because that's going to be the type of thing that gives you the job or whatever. Okay. What else can I say? Any questions? So here's the best part. That video I made, it's my cousin. $0. $0. I won't get paid for that one, but that's fine. Totally, I was happy. He asked me to. I said, I'll do one for you. Next one, pony up the money. It's one of those investment things where it's like, hey, if you like this, I can make, so it's almost like a future thing, but also it's going to be one where I think it might be a sticker shock for them as well, because I have worked with working with relatives is probably the worst thing you could do. Especially when it comes to money and relatives, it's always horrible. But that being said, I'm happy to help my family out if they ask me for something, and it's something that I can do relatively easy, right? Like there are obviously I want to make the best thing possible too, but when it's a zero project, I can be like, okay, well, if you don't like it, smell you later, right? Like, it's not like I'm waiting on a check or anything, right? But again, I want to do the best that I want to do, and maybe this will lead to work in the future, or this can just be a positive thing. It's just a family member, a member. And it's, it's what I can do. It's not everybody has the ability to put something together. And I think that also I think what might have made this project faster than other projects is I also produced it. So I basically took a 30-minute thing and picked out sound bites. A lot like what we do for GAF TV News is you get a lot of sound bites, and to me, the longest process is watching everything and pulling the sound bites and then putting them in order to make the story make sense, right? Where I think I am pretty quick at that. Like that's probably something I just have the experience to be able to do. So that's basically what I wanted to tell you today is how to use Media Encoder, show you a little bit of After Effects, and how to make money doing this. And I say that to be like, I really recommend also, if you have never done anything, it's not going to hurt you to make $200 and then realize, oh, I made $3 an hour, because it's a good work experience. And ultimately, it's better to get $200 for, than to do something for $0 an hour, right? And in fact, when you do something for when you get paid 0, you're paying, you know,
What about when you end up negative?
yeah, well, that's negative, right? So, yeah, and you want to make sure you're not negative. If your rental costs more than what you get paid, that's the absolute worst. So, yeah, Juan, yeah. Which Juan? All right, I'm gonna stop the recording.